no, be accountable for your own finances. Start talking about, what are the things that you could do side by side. Not, you still have to do your studies, you still have to, perform an Excel and da da da. But at the same time, start being accountable for yourself in small little ways. And I kind of was a little perplexed at that point of time, but having looked back, that was my first step into where I was pushed to think that yes, you need to make your own road and be accountable, be responsible. Even if you make mistakes, you will go away without a treat this month because you can't afford it. So, I think that's very, very important. And I think that pushed me to being, until today, I mean, and I've got a 22-year-old daughter, I've said, taught her the same. You have to stand up for yourself. You've got to learn, and the earlier that you learn, the better. That itself will give you the confidence, because a lot of entrepreneurship is risk taking, is being able to, step out. And from that, a lot of that is linked again to your self esteem, again, from a behavior perspective. And self-esteem can only come when you feel good about yourself and you feel that you are going to be able to make it through even if you fall. So for me, I think my parents pushing me there to realize my self-esteem, to kind of, I think that was a big tipping point for me. And I don't think I've stopped since then. I have worked, I have been on both sides of the travel. I've been an entrepreneur, I've worked as well. I've been a consultant for the longest period. So I think that concept of being able to do my own thing, but being accountable. So if there are months where there are no billing, I kind of live with it. That accountability is something that has come to me because of this entire journey. So yes, I totally believe that entrepreneurship is the way to go. And we are talking of a world pre-COVID and let's say, the fourth industrial revolution. So those two are things that have totally skewed, I feel, the kind of, again, we talk about that later. But yeah, that was my personal experience. Does that answer what you were trying to get at?
Wonderful, wonderful. So many takeaways, and so delighted to know, so glad to know about your growing up years and how you have found support,
Yes.
and you're providing that same support now to your next generation, which is very, very heartening to know. I think one of the things that all students present here should also understand that yes, most of us come from families where we do find support. Parents do understand these things now. Um, Although I may not, be completely sure if all of us have this fortune, one thing which we can surely do is work on making ourselves strong. And when I say making ourselves strong, I mean mind, body, spirit, everything. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
When all of this is aligned, that is when you can get the kind of confidence you want, the kind of strength you want. Work towards that, work towards self, invest in yourself. And when I say invest a lot of time, right? And so learn, so keep your mind sharp, please don't stop learning. For the body, do exercise, that's very important. For your spirit, I would really recommend practices like meditation or following some practice which makes you aligned with your own self.
Mindfulness.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Sharmishta. Let's now move to Dr. Naila. Dr. Naila, we would love to hear your experiences in this entire journey that you have had.
So thank you so much, Komal. I think, the odd one out as far as this panel is concerned, because I have never been an entrepreneur in the normal, understanding of that word. I have been more of an employee for the last 20 years almost, and 22 almost. And so I'll just take you through a brief mm, description of my journey, and maybe then you will understand what I'm trying to bring out. So I did my BSc in biology in the year 96, and initially wanted to be a doctor, but couldn't make through the medical entrance. And then I was so fed up of science by then that I wanted to switch out. So thank God my parents permitted me, my father actually at that time, my mother was no more. So my father permitted me to go for an MBA. I belong to a very traditional Muslim family, very conventional family, and obviously 24 years ago it was even worse, if I can say so. And I was the first female, in fact, first person of the entire Khandan to be going into business education. And so with a BSc in biology, I took admission in a university program for MBA. And thank God, I was blessed with intelligence and whatever, hard work. So I managed to do the first year quite well. Then my family like basically told me that you cannot possibly opt for marketing. And at that time we had only marketing and finance. There were just two specializations that my university was offering. There was no HR, there was no operations, nothing at all. And I was told that you basically opt for finance and that's it. So think about it. I was a BSc in biology, not very keen into finance, and I was told that you have to major in finance and that's it. So okay. So I did my majors in finance. I topped the batch also. And then and then again, so I at that time the colleges and universities were not very much into giving campus placements. They were like pretty laid back. I was the only one in the entire batch placed through campus placement in a financial consultancy, which was a home office. So I remember that I passed through at least 2 or 3 rounds of process and then finally got selected. Uh, at that time, at a salary of 5,000. Uh, and guess what? My family told me, no, you can't join because it's a home office and it's not a safe place to go. And what will people say? That a girl is working in a home office where there's this just one gentleman and that's it. I would be there and he would be there. So no, 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 no. You can't. And I never wanted to be a teacher at that time. And there was this management institute that came up in the same year in Kanpur in 1998. And I was told that you have to apply for it. Either do that or you fill up the B.Ed form and go for B.Ed. So of course I said, okay, I'll teach. I'll teach PG students. I won't go into B.Ed because I never wanted to be a school teacher. So I became a teacher. And the first subject that was allotted to me based on my finance major was financial accounting. And I had sleepless nights over it and I somehow managed to, so 20 years later, I can say that I am a very good finance teacher. And so it's like, what I want to say is that entrepreneurship sometimes is not something that you choose. Sometimes it is forced upon you. So, and what I think I did in my life is that I tried to make the best of whatever was there. And though of course the spirit is there, and the spirit is what keeps me alive, and I have done whatever is possible in the circumstances that I have been. And I believe in thinking out of the box. And in my I have been in a management college. In the current place I have been here for the past 13 years, and I grew from being an assistant professor to the head of the college. And that is only because I took that initiative. I took the accountability which Sharmishta was talking about. So I believe accountability is actually everything. So you take decisions and you are accountable for those decisions. And this other thing which Geeta talked about was ownership. So yes, ownership is very important. So if you really believe in stuff, then you take ownership of it and then you take it to to the logical conclusion. And that is something which is appreciated in by the management. Whether so, okay, I have not stepped out and come out like Geeta said. Yes, I haven't come out yet, but the spirit is alive, and I hope someday, maybe in the far future, I don't know, near future or far future, I might be able to become real entrepreneur like both of you, all four of you. So that's a small story that I had. uh, so what I want to tell the students here is that you might not get the ideal circumstances, but you need to make the best of whatever you have. And you can show results even in that limited circumstance. So that is what I want to say.
That was wonderful, Dr. Naila. I mean, such an inspiring story that you have there, and I mean, we are really touched to know.
Thank you.
So it was literally your qualities of resolve and persistence, right? And then the fact that you were agile, you took those decisions at that point in time, saying yes, if this is the only option, let me see that within this, how can I operate to the best of my ability. And that is, I think, a very, very critical element for every entrepreneur. Because at every stage, we will know that no matter how many projections we make, and projections is a very commonly used term, once you get into your entrepreneurial journey, there will still be times where you will never be able to predict what is out there for you. So you internally have to be an agile person where you can make these changes depending on your circumstances, either your business environment or whatever the environment be. Let's now move to Alina. Alina, we would love to hear your side of the story as well.
Well, and I thought that I would be contributing to this panel. Just so fascinated after hearing Dr. Naila, Sharmishta, Geeta, and Komal. I think I have learned so much. I've been told that most of the participants here are students. I was a student 3 years back. That's when I started Mitti Cafe. देखो यार, डर तो लगता है. I mean, when you're generally told that you be fearless and get into this journey, nahi, that doesn't happen. But what I've also realized is that the part when you just start your entrepreneurship journey, when paisa nahi hai, failed sales rejections, that uncertainty is a time, because when you don't have money, you become creative. So this is the most precious time of your entrepreneurship journey. So when I started, there was no money. I started my first cafe in a tin shed full of generations of rats. And for me, another thing that, I personally believe in, and maybe I differ a little bit from the other, wonderful panelists here, is that, dekho yaar, sab kuch self-confidence nahi hota. For me personally, it has been a lot of confidence on the community. Because Mitti as a model would have failed if not for the support of the community every single day. It is a lot of faith in something that exists that can make the impossible possible. And also remember that it is 1% your idea. No idea is unique. Whether it's Ola, Uber, Falana Dhimka, kuch unique nahi hota. 99% is your implementation. Do. As for, what really, how did Mitti Cafe come into being, or, why did I choose to take the entrepreneurship journey? Like, I'll take a quick minute to tell you why. Well, I was like you, like most of the participants here, waiting for placements in college, which is when one guy changed my life. Who is this guy? This guy was Nero. So for those of y'all who don't know who Nero is, Nero was this, emperor in the mighty Roman Empire. Very, very rich, would win one war after the other and the other and the other. Yes. One day he won the biggest battle of his life. And when you win, kya karte ho? Party karte ho na? So he decided to throw a party. And he invited the who's who of Tinseltown, kings and queens, princes and princesses. And when evening befell, my hero Nero, or my villain Nero, had this idea that, to get light, tab to bulb nahi tha. He had this idea, why not burn some waste? Why not burn the prisoners of war? And he decided to do that. And, the problem here was not Nero. The problem here was Nero's guests as to how they sang and danced and drank while fellow human beings burned. And sitting, in that classroom, watching that documentary just before my placements were to start, I realized who I was. I realized at that point, I was Nero, one of Nero's guests. When I realized that, if you feel about something, if you're not ready to take charge, if you're not ready to act, you've taken a side, bhai, you've taken the side of the oppressor. And this is something that I didn't want to do. I decided not to sit for placements. I started volunteering with organizations working in the disability inclusion space. We realized that the problem is not that there are 70 lakh people with disabilities in our country or a billion across the world. The problem really is the disability in our perception, which is what I wanted to change.
That's brilliant.
Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful, Alina. It's such an inspiring story that, you're sitting out there. I can actually visualize you watching your documentary and taking that decision. It's really wonderful. And I think it's very important, some of the points that you made, very pertinent. It is not always about the idea alone, because the idea is actually your level one of the entire process, which involves 100 stages. Implementation, like you rightly said, is very critical. It's the key element. How does one implement, right? By oneself, a little difficult, a little bit of an uphill task. I think one of the things that I think all of us will agree is alignment with like-minded people, alignment with people who think progressive, who have a certain way of supporting you. And this need not be only investors. We are talking about people whom we really like to work with. So I'll give an example about myself. In fact, my entrepreneurial journey began at the point where we were 5 friends gotten together over a drink. And we were talking about the state of education in general. All of us have children in their teens. And so we were saying that, education system is not doing enough for our kids. At the end of that talk, some of us said, why don't we do something for it? Why don't we do something about it? Rather than just sitting and talking and we'll speak the same thing the coming month and the following month. 5 of us think of something in a particular way. Let's come together and do something. Within a month, we set up our company. And these are 5 friends. I know them for like 20, 25 years now. We said, let's have some fun now. We've kind of complained, criticized, and done everything. So within a month, we set up our company. We knew exactly what we wanted to do. Within another 3 months of that, we started this program, got students on board, program to train entrepreneurs. And thereafter, it's been great. We're just adding more and more people who are aligned to our thought process. 5 of us continue having fun. While we are, of course, educating students the way we know is the right approach, getting them into that entire zone of self-confidence, believing in themselves, believing in their own ideas, and giving it an opportunity to actually go out there. So this is my little journey. Prior to that, I have worked in different organizations. So even my journey as an entrepreneur has been a very recent one. But it's far more fulfilling than anything else. And I can assure the students today that, all of you have something working so strongly for you. And it is something so positive, and that is age. So when I see Alina today, having started her journey so early in life, I think that is something that all of you should also strive for. So although for the rest of us, entrepreneurship has come a little later in life, but I think that the positive that, being in your 20s and discovering this has a completely new flavor to it, right? Because what you need to do is contain your fears, be a little more supportive of your own self, and believe in what you dream of. Let's move now on to, there are these 2 or 3 questions that the students had, and I think most of them have been answered. Nevertheless, in COVID times, what do you think the entire concept of entrepreneurship means? That is one. Second is, how is forced entrepreneurship to be viewed by students? Because there are, of course, many students out there waiting to be placed, and we have to be very aware, right, that not everyone can suddenly switch from a placement mindset to a entrepreneurship mindset, right? So how do you think, in like a nutshell, how can these students actually go ahead and get thinking on these lines, thinking on the lines of entrepreneurship? So what positive element can they take with them on this journey? In terms of timing for entrepreneurship, I think that question has been answered. Some students did ask whether this is the right time or not. And I think in terms of timing, it's always the right time is what, and if, is what I understand also from everyone's journeys here.
Yeah.
But maybe if we can help them a little in terms of, the situation out there, and then how can they cope with this entire shift from placements to entrepreneurship. Geeta, would you like to?
Sure, Komal, thank you. Let me respond to this question a little bit, taking from the stories which everyone have shared, and absolutely impressive stories and journeys that each one has traveled over here. I'll go straight to what Dr. Naira kind of shared with all the participants and all of us over here. One of the most important things which I realize, or which I have learned about entrepreneurship, is knowing what is in your control. What is it that, see, all of us, no matter where we are and what age, stage, restrictive ambience or free ambience or whatever it might be, it is important to know what is in our control and what is not in our control. If you chase something which is not in your control, then you are going to only be left with more and more disappointment of not having achieved what you wanted to achieve. But if you start building your simple building blocks with what is in your control, or what you can, mold and shape, exactly like Alina said, that she took inspiration from Nero. And I was for a second wondering which Nero, but yes, when she started narrating the story, I realized that. But so she started building on what was in her control, her thoughts, her ability, the way she wanted to behave in a different situation. And she took charge from there to build what was her entrepreneurial journey. So the thing, what I'm trying to get across is that the first piece is to know whether it is in this post-COVID situation, practically everything has turned upside down. The world, the way we knew it, has turned upside down. But even within that turned world, we know there are some things that we're probably skilled in something. Somebody else wants our skills. We have something in our control. Somebody else needs that. So how do you turn that into an opportunity? How do you build on that? And that's where I personally believe that people of this group or similar such groups can certainly help the aspiring young generation to kind of build on those blocks and take it from there. Before I close, I will just share one very, very short snippet from my own journey. This was back in 1990. I just qualified, I just completed my graduation and qualified and become a chartered accountant at the same time. There were no campus placements for chartered accountants. Even today, there are no campus placements for chartered accountants. You find your own job. Generally, chartered accountants are in demand, so there is no issue about that, right? So, but I didn't really want to fit into the mold, which was always me. That is, oh no, ye karne ka maza nahi aata hai. So I was on a holiday. I'd gone to Delhi. My parents thought that I was going to join a certain MNC and a company and all the rest of it. That offer got turned down. I didn't have the courage to tell my parents that that offer is no longer there. So when I was traveling Delhi, I met this person, a young man who had just left Arthur Andersen at that time and started his practice, operating out of a garage in Defense Colony in New Delhi. And he said, you know what? It'll be great. Why don't you join us over here? I said, great. So I go back. My parents were in Hyderabad. I go back to Hyderabad, tell my parents, I've got a fabulous offer. I'm moving to Delhi now. I go work out of a garage and they were shocked out of their wits. But the only thing that is there is that I knew I had something to offer. I didn't want to get bound in the shackles of a job of a large corporation. So even something as exciting as this was interesting enough to want to take that plunge and say, let me build from here.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Geeta. We have some questions coming in now from our students. There is a student here who would like to know, in the given situation, economic situation, how do we minimize financial risk attached to a new venture? Sharmishta, any views on this?
Yeah, sure. Firstly, I think COVID has made it, the situation post-COVID has made entrepreneurship no longer an option. It's more or less something that a lot of the young, graduates, people who are coming into the industries have to consider much more significantly. And I think they are slightly at an advantageous position because A, as you said, I mean, age is of course a big factor. B is when you tend to take more risks at that stage because your liabilities are not so high. Also because I feel post-COVID, and I've seen this in a lot of organizations and in people, behaviors are changing so fast that for large organizations to react to that behavioral change, to react to the way people are now listening to music, or for example, let's say video. People don't go to the cinemas anymore. It's Netflix and Amazon and what you can do. So the changes in behavior is something which is difficult for large organizations to react to. Whereas an individual or an entrepreneur or somebody or a small group will be much more adept at handling and tweaking and solving. And I think one of the biggest aspects of entrepreneurship is problem solving, not necessarily for yourself, but also for the society. And I think that's very, very big. So I think that, if you have that grain in you, that you are a problem solver, that is something that you should look around, see what are the opportunities, because trust me, there are many, many opportunities that have come up because of COVID. So yes, there is a situation where what we traditionally knew is available may not be available anymore. But the other side is that there are a lot more new stuff coming in. And to come back specifically to your question, this is something I say to all the people I coach, especially the younger people, is when you are doing entrepreneurship or you're starting something anew, I feel huge value in mentorship. So if you can kind of, associate with somebody who is a mentor, specifically somebody who understands business running a little bit more, then the risks that you're taking, to come back specifically to your questions, if I'm taking financial risks, I'm taking a lot of risks, operational risks, a mentor who's kind of been there, done that, will be able to guide you slightly better in terms of you falling, you're not making mistakes that others have made. And finance is something which is actually possibly the easiest. I mean, there's certain very sure ways in which the risks can be mitigated. So I strongly advocate, if anybody is looking at, taking up something, a new idea and running through with it, go into mentorship, try and associate with somebody who has been there, because you have the ideas, you have the passion, and you have the kind of, the follow through to go through, but just to make sure that you don't get into the same pitfalls that a normal business would. A mentorship would be for me a very, very strong solution, an easy solution to that.
Thank you, Sharmishta. I think a very sound piece of advice, because this is absolutely essential for our younger audience to find someone.
Would you permit me to add on to this answer?
Yes, please. Absolutely.
So there are two things which I would like to tell this child. One is that what is asking is that what type of entrepreneurship activity can he engage in. So as of now, you have to figure out what are the industries and sectors which are post COVID will be successful. So like even Sharmistha brought that out, that music is changing, and everything is changing. So maybe traditional ideas would not work so much. And so for this panel discussion, I read up a lot, and there was something which I came up with. That is the MVP concept. So minimum viable product. So it's more like doing something, launching it, seeing how it works, and really not waiting a long time to make it successful. So you have an MVP, you start off, and then wait for the feedback to come in, and then see whether it can work out. Because if you keep waiting for the perfect moment to come, probably it's not coming.
The time as well.
So agility is very important. So what Sharmistha mentioned was that big corporations, the biggest problem they have is that they don't have the agility to change, while small units have much more change capacity. So that is one. And second, as far as the financial risk part is concerned, as a finance person, I would say that personally, I would avoid loans as of now. So if it is possible to get equity participations, that would definitely reduce your financial risk. Financial risk comes primarily from statutory payments like interests. And if you do not go for a loan, that will reduce so you might not be into profits, but at least you will not be into losses. So that is what can be done.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Naila. Also, one of the things I think as students, one must always aim to do is please keep yourselves updated all the time. So read up on industry trends, there are a lot of free resources available everywhere. Go through videos of experts talking about what's going on, talk to experts, in fact. So like Sharmistha said, find a mentor and also speak to several people. Keep discussing your ideas even among your peer set.
Absolutely.
So don't be under any notion that people may not like it, so let me not mention it, or I may be laughed at, or I may be ridiculed. No, there's nothing of that sort. And in fact, it's great if someone comes back and says that, look, this idea doesn't make sense, or it may not work, because that means very early on you are getting direction on reworking or including another pathway for yourself. You should be grateful to people who are actually telling you that maybe this is not the correct way and look at something else. So do that to keep your minds open towards people's comments, and all the time keep your ears open, listen to a lot of things, keep reading, and build yourself up.
And Komal, I will just add to that. When you take this kind of feedback early on, you also kind of ensure that the resources that you have available, you don't burn up too many of those resources going down a path which you might have to retract from at a later point, right? So when you get this feedback early on, you are also keeping more available to yourself, which is within your control, and continue to build from that.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, Alina, we would like to hear your...
Absolutely. So, generally when you're starting a venture, so, there's something called the founder syndrome, where, you would want to protect your venture like, you're a tigress protecting your own cubs. So, you must keep in mind that, of course, that'll, of course, I mean, that is, that's not all negative, but at the same time, you have to have this realization that, you'll have to let your ego go. Because it is very, very important, like a panelist mentioned, that you have to get someone you could be yourself with. A mentor is very important. A mentor you could be very transparent with. At the same time, it is very, very important for you to have an idea that, I mean, to be flexible about your idea, because there would be changes, and you need to realize that as an entrepreneur, you're very lucky that you're in a market like India with the kind of population that we have. I mean, there are so many problems, and I understand that like personally, I understand that if you're taking an entrepreneurship route, it has to be personal. It is something that you really want to do. Like you may not want to take up any idea, but the good part about all of this is that room for everyone. As long as you're ready to do, doing is very important. Be a leech. Okay, be a leech, be desperate, ask people for help, which is very, very important. Collaborations at this point, during the COVID point, they are extremely important. And when you start, your journey. So, for example, when I started my first cafe in that pink shed, every item in that kitchen of mine was donated. It was a second-hand, third-hand item. So start small, learn, fail, make mistakes. Theory comes secondary. You have to get it to practice. मतलब छोटा शुरू करो. Ask for help. Show that you're desperate. Be a leech. I think that is very, very important. And be flexible.
Komal, if I may just add.
Wonderfully. Yes, absolutely.
And I this is coming from when I hear Alina speak like this. I think it's very, very, and I think that's what's coming through.
Yeah.
It's very important for anybody who wants to be an entrepreneur is to have that kind of passion. The kind of passion that she shows of her. So there are two things. One is the passion, which, the fire in the belly, which makes you feel that karna hi hai. I don't care what's happening, bas karna hi hai. That's one. The second part, which I'm also seeing from her, and I'm totally inspired, Alina, is the follow through. That, lose your shackles to say that this is the way it has to be. Lose your ego, the words that she's saying. Be flexible, or ask for help, which means follow through. So it's not just the passion. It's good to have a passion. It's good to have the fire in the belly, but it's also important to be able to follow through. And that's what, she's demonstrated so well. So I just wanted to say kudos, Alina. Really, really well done. And
really, very well done. Very
Such a young age. I mean, it is.
Great. I think we've had a wonderful session today. I could go on and on for another hour with you ladies, but
you can go on for another 10 minutes because there are a lot of participants who are really having a lot of. There's one question which has been posed by one of the participant in the chat box. I just wanted to ask you is, there are many of them who are very keen on pursuing later. So the one question is, how do I become a successful entrepreneur? So innocent, but that's a question from one of the participants. Yeah.
So maybe I will take a minute and then open the discussion to all the rest. Success, the term itself is a little ambiguous, right? Because for us, there are small successes and then there are the big successes, right? We have to be very aware of how you are defining success for yourself. For me, success is waking up on time, ensuring that my children have a meal on their table before they go off to school, right? Those are the small successes. Coming back in time from work so that I'm able to spend some time with my parents. That's a successful day for me. The next day success could be closing a really big transaction, which I have been working on for a month, right? And then everything else kind of takes a backseat. Then it's just that. And then once I do that, that is my success. So we have to be very aware of how we define successes in our personal and professional lives. And I'm sure you will be able to achieve it over a period of time. Of course, please bear in mind that the larger successes are out there and don't lose sight of that. So whereas we look at the micro level achievements, there is something out there that still needs to be completed or achieved or reached. Ladies, it's open to you as you would like to.
Do you want me to go?
Yes, please.
Sure.
Success, as you rightly said, Komal, is a very, very open to interpretation kind of a thing. But if I was to put myself in the shoes of a young entrepreneur, how would I define it is what I'm trying to think out here. I think it will be important for me because the road is going to get very rough. The road is not going to be easy. It's going to be, it's going to have challenges. And if despite all the challenges, that fire in my belly is still there, and I feel that I am on the right track, I feel that I'm doing well as an entrepreneur. I wanted to set out to achieve something. I may not be there as yet, but if it feels that, I am on the way, small successes, as you said, daily smaller milestones, you're reaching those. Of course, every organization has KPIs and stuff like that. So I'm meeting the smaller ones. I'm managing to find ways, or I'm trying to be creative around the ones that are not so easy. And as long as I feel in my gut that I am being fair and true to the objective that I set out to kind of achieve, I feel that is a reasonable success for a young entrepreneur. Of course, the business KPIs and all are always there. You know, if you're making the numbers and the, you know, those make sense, that's there. But I feel somewhere as an entrepreneur, in your gut, if you feel you're doing the right thing, you're making the right kind of progress, for me, I feel that would be encouraging for me to go further. That's what I would say.
Komal, if I may come in over here, right? I think one of the things that ends up kind of translating into a lot of misperception of what this term success is all about, right? I think every day in the media, one hears about so-and-so became a unicorn, so-and-so raised so much of money, so-and-so did this, so-and-so did that, blah, blah, you know, whichever, and all that is blasted into the attention of aspiring entrepreneurs is that this is the definition of success. So more often than not, especially when I speak to the young entrepreneurs, I work, you know, my role involves talking and working with a lot of young entrepreneurs. And when I talk to them, ma'am, when do we fundraise? Ma'am, can we raise $1 million rupees? Can we do this? And that's when I start to kind of feel agitated that is raising money the only definition of success, right? As Sharmisha so rightly pointed out, and what you were talking about, achieving those small milestones, and what Alina so passionately put across, that one thought took her and drove her. We have so many disabilities, right? And to deal with that, to create opportunities which can allow people to continue to operate, right? That is a measure of success for her. To know that, wow, in, you know, the whole, we can look at India in two ways. Oh my God, this country is so full of problems. How do I operate over here? Great, there is a problem, there is an opportunity. You know, so that is the mindset which kind of transcends, and the minute you transcend that, you know, that thing in your mind, your definition of success starts to change. And when you recognize that success is not about raising that first round of funding or your 10th round of funding, whatever it might be, or becoming a unicorn or becoming this or becoming that, right? It is in very different aspects that you realize that what is it that you have and where can you take it from there. So things, I go back to the point that I'm making, what is in your control and where can you step up from there? That itself is a measure of success.
Yeah, I think wonderfully brought out, Geeta.
Well
Really
brought
fun.
out. So I nothing really
Yes.
to add here.
Okay.
If I may
There
add,
is a question in the question answer tab which I saw. This gentleman is asking how to make sure that this is exactly what you want to do. So I would like to take up that question. So there are pros and cons to being an employee vis-a-vis being an entrepreneur. So you need to weigh whether you are fit for being an entrepreneur, which is a slightly different mindset requirement as compared to an employee kind of a mindset. So you need to figure out whether you have, number one, a high tolerance for risk. So do you really want an unpredictable life, or you want a very predictable kind of a life where you don't want to deal with a lot of ups and downs? You need a paycheck every month. You need to have set hours of working, and you need to like switch off sometimes. In that case, maybe an employee thing is better for you, because when you are an entrepreneur, then you cannot switch off. It's a 24/7 kind of a thing. You have to take the short tasks also, and the long-term vision is also yours. And you can't really hold anybody else responsible for what you do, because the buck stops with you. And one thing I was reading a lot, and they say that entrepreneurship is a very lonely kind of a thing. So at the end of the day, you are all alone. You have borne the risk, and in spite of all the mentors or maybe whatever support system you have, ultimately you are all alone, and it's you who is supposed to take care of everything. So if you are up to doing that, then go to be an entrepreneur. Otherwise, and in any case, first do a job, try and understand the business, the perspective of business, how the market functions, how the demand supply works out, and then only think of going for this thing. Having said that, Alina has done a wonderful job by not even going to that level, because probably she was of a higher level of consciousness and she could directly step into that. But for a normal, I would say a more average individual, it would be better to first try out and understand the environment, and then go for this lunge, I would say, into entrepreneurship.
So if I may add,
Yes,
if I may
Alina.
add, no. So see, personally for me, I think it's really, really important that, of course, entrepreneurship is a lonely journey, but please, please, please ensure that it doesn't remain a lonely journey. Like Kabir says, Nindak nihare rakhi anand kuti chhawai. It is important to keep people, who would help you with positive criticism, but also keep people who can just hear you out.
Right.
It is very important to have people who are
That's
positive
a personal
around
support
you.
system, yeah.
It is very, very important. Personally, for me, when I talk about success, of course, a social entrepreneurship journey, I don't see it to be very different from, say, for example, Ola, Uber are also creating, job opportunities and changing the mindset. We are driver hai, So they've done like a great thing. So utna difference meko nahi dikhta. But I think, for me, success has been, so my first employee was this girl who came in crawling for the interview because her parents could not afford a wheelchair. It's been 3 years for her, and today, sitting on her wheelchair, she manages 7 other people with disability. She's the manager for our first cafe. Her name is Kirti, and today we have 116 Kirtis. But for me, I think it is, a small story. So, one girl was, what she was doing was that there was a high tide, and, the shore was full of millions of starfishes. What this girl was doing was she was picking up one starfish, throwing it back into the water, the other again throwing it back into the water. So an old man comes and asks her, that young girl, what are you doing? She doesn't respond. Again, what are you doing? What difference does this make? So what she does is she smiles, she just takes this one starfish, throws it back into the water and says that it made a difference to that one. So remember that your entrepreneurship journey marathon hai, maybe you may never win it. Or it may take a long time, but remember to celebrate the sprints, the short sprints in the marathon. That's very, very important.
Very beautifully put, Alina. This is such a brilliant way of putting it. And you're absolutely right. I think that, so although a job gives us a paycheck at the end of the month, I think a journey as an entrepreneur actually gives you that fulfillment every single day. So it's the beauty and the excitement of being on this journey is, I think, quite incomparable. So very, very well.
And just a point over there, and sorry, Dr. Saujanya, because there is a question which Anurag has asked, and I think it's a very pertinent question of how do you deal with pressure. But this is some of the conversation, right? Every day may not be that satisfying day, but to know that that is what you're working towards helps to alleviate that kind of pressure. And because without having that comfort in the knowledge that what you're doing matters and makes a difference, you have no ability to withstand that pressure.
Thank you so much, Geeta. We have another session. It's been wonderful listening to all of you. The time was short. I guess we should have had a 2-hour session with these lovely ladies. Lots of takeaways for all the students. We have another session coming up. I'm sure our students were enough enthused and towards entrepreneurship, and we have a myriad talent here. So looking forward to getting you into our classroom sometimes, and maybe catching up another session like this. We have another session, and thank you so much on behalf of Team NSHM and on behalf of Center for Innovation and Incubation. Thank you so much.
I'll just have one last sentence, if that's okay. I'm so sorry.
Yes, Komal.
All the students attending here today, it is my sincere request to consider getting onto this entrepreneurship journey. It will only be a progressive step for you. You will learn a lot of things on the way. You will meet a lot of wonderful people. So just take that action today.
Thank you. We have the next session coming up, dear students. The next session starts at 12:30, and the session is on post-COVID world and travel, tourism, and hospitality. So looking forward to all of you joining in there. And thank you so much, Sharmishta, Geeta, Naila, Alina, and thanks for being a wonderful moderator, Komal.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Lovely meeting you all.
Ladies.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.